usual stuff applies. I will follow up with a copy of the video and of the presentation. But really it was, how do I present this to people of widely varying skill sets and also widely varying job requirements? So, I'm talking to people who are parish councillors, parish clerks, or people who've got specific tasks, such as yourself. And therefore, finding the right stuff to include in a document like this can be tricky. So your feedback would be hugely welcome, please. And what I'm going to be talking about will seem to be very specific, but what I'm sure that you will pick up on is it's the general principle I'm trying to convey. Obviously, one gives examples to show what one's talking about, but by no means should the incorporation of them be limited to what I've been talking. It's just I'm hoping to get principles across.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple things which you probably don't need to know about because you've got decent broadband and you've got common sense use of a computer, but there are those who don't. So there are some people who insist on using tablets, but you're much better off with the mouse. Do you have two displays?
I do indeed.
Yes. Yeah, I rather thought that you would. So I don't need to preach to you about the value of those. A lot of people have the issue with Parish Online that they do the courses, they learn, they sort of fiddle around for a bit, and then they come back a month later and everything's gone. And it really does benefit if you're able to do it on more or less a daily basis, and I'll explain why later on. And then again, this is not an issue for you, but we had a problem the other day with somebody who just could not get their administration menu to operate. And we finally determined that it was just the lack of their broadband, that we did get them to do other things, and it was painful to watch. And we were just thinking, how else can we help these people? In the end, we decided that they'd be better off if they just moved their town a few miles to the nearer sort of mast, but they didn't go. But so if you don't have decent broadband, then these are ways in which you can improve what you have got. Not so much as improving the quality of the delivery itself, although you can do that with the SIM routers. But the extenders and the Wi-Fi and the power lines can be very useful in places with very thick walls or where they don't have Ethernet sort of cabling to the PC. So it's a great truism, isn't it? The more you use something, the better you become, the faster that it works, and practice makes perfect. And I think I was telling you the other day that I've got one lady attending these classes who goes through doing on Parish Online what I'm doing on the screen at much the same sort of speed. And when I get to the interactive bit and says, now it's your turn, she said, I've done it all. So it just is a question of practice being perfect. So what I'm trying to suggest here then is that you open the scope for what one uses Parish Online for. So again, this isn't really targeted specifically to you. It's more for the parish clerks and general councillors, but hopefully you will pick up some ideas, or certainly you could give me the input on what you think about it. So what I'm trying to suggest is that people are always going to be creating documents. They're always going to be filing them away. They're always going to need to refer to them. Why not make Parish Online the filing cabinet? People look for things with their eyes. So if you say, what's the password for the village hall Wi-Fi? Well, why not just go and click on the village hall to find out? So what we've done in Long Sutton is suggest that, if you need to know something about the village hall, come to the village hall. And if you need to know how to operate the sound system or how to turn the heating up or down or whatever, then all the instructions for doing that are here. So the example I've given rather painfully is the Wi-Fi passwords. We click on that, up pops the record. It gives you the passwords here. But also you can download the document that's used to create the laminates that we leave around the place to help people out, putting cunning places like the hatch from the cafeteria and so forth. So it's there, and you don't need to go and look for it filed somewhere else. It's just filed under Wi-Fi under the village hall. And by the same token, where would you go to find last year's children's playground report, which is something people would want to be worried about, particularly at this time of year, which is when the inspectors are running around. So you'd go to the play area, and we've set it up so that you click on the play area icon, and lo and behold, up pops the Parish Online inspections, and you can just click on whichever one is the one that you want to look at. So we'll take that one, and there it is. So one way of getting yourself much more involved with Parish Online is to turn it into your file server, really.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that actually as much as possible. Like with our buildings, I've started logging stuff under the council house. So I've got like location plan, the plan view,
brilliant,
the floor plans, the surveyors, structural engineers reports, and all that kind of thing, and O&M manuals. I've got it all sort of listed as attachments on the under the council house.
There's no question, Peter, that you're now a certified genius. Your brain works the way mine does.
Yeah, many people do say I should be certified.
All right, so the advantages are that, of course, it's available 24/7 to everybody. Nobody needs to know how to file or how your filing system works. You just think of the lodger location and go there. Because the knowledge is now online in a visual form, you don't lose it when people move, and it's much easier for you to do a handover to a replacement following the inevitable promotion that you're going to get from using the system so well.
I hope.
You know, we have an issue at the moment where, well, actually we don't in our parish, but the one next door has been through 3 parish clerks in about 3 months. And they don't have a parish council at all. They've all either been fired or they've walked out. So that the whole business of the knowledge of what makes the parish tick is in grave danger of being lost. But if you have everything online, then it's much simpler for someone coming in to pick up the reins, because they can see where things are, rather than having to sort of work out how the mind of the last person worked when he was filing things. So the next thing I'm going to suggest is that parish council meetings and everything that devolve from them also get run from Parish Online. Now, we did do a clinic a couple of years ago where a local village showed how they did exactly this. And in fact, they were the inspiration for the way we run our meetings. And there is a video here, which I've given you a link to in the presentation. And you want to sort of jump to minute 15:30, because the first bit is a bit of blather and sort of introductions and so forth. And some of what they're saying is a bit out of date because Parish Online itself has moved on or improved, but the principles hold true. And I think it's a worthwhile video. You know, it's only for about 30 minutes, but if you've got nothing else to do and you're having trouble going to sleep, here's my recommendation. So what you need, particularly if you're talking to lots of other people as a parish council meeting, is you do have to have a projector or a large screen where the meeting is held so that everybody can see what it is that you're demonstrating. But that's going to be essential if you're using Parish Online anyway, so I don't see that as a great deal. It is certainly advantageous to have some other computer literate person running Parish Online during the meeting, because the chairman is obviously racing through the agenda and the clerk is busy taking notes or recordings or whatever it happens to be. So you need to find some third party who will run the computer for you. The beauty of it is, of course, they don't have to be there in the room. They can be doing this entirely remotely and just sort of operating away in the background. And in fact, the last parish council meeting I attended as a remote councillor, but B, also as the person doing the driving of the system. So it does work. To be working really effectively, it takes a little bit of preparation in advance, but it really isn't very much. So when the agenda is set up, that's going to be the driving thing behind the meeting. It's going to be up on display. But everything that you're going to go and look at needs to be a hyperlink. So for instance, when it's time to go over the minutes of the last meeting for approval, then click on the link and they'll all pop up on the screen and people can remind themselves of what it was that they said last time. Ditto, I don't know about you, but for us, the most contentious and the most time-consuming part of any parish council meeting, particularly at the moment, are the planning applications. So I've made the planning applications on the agenda a hyperlink that takes you straight to the portal on the local planning authority, which for us, our case is South Somerset. So when we get to item 6.1 on the agenda, I just click on the first link and off we go. And here we are on the portal. From where, as you will certainly know, you can sort of take a look at all the documents. And I apologize for sort of preaching to the choir, but not everyone knows this. So you can go to the documents and look up everything that's relative to that particular application. At the same time, you want to set up Parish Online in separate tabs on your browser, and you set up all the planning applications in Parish Online, and I sort of suggest that people use bookmarks to find them in a hurry. So the first bookmark that was under discussion for this parish council meeting was this one. And if you've got lots and lots of bookmarks, I think we've probably covered in one of our previous sessions that you can just use it with Control F. So I've put in Control F up here, I've put in the bookmark and it's jumped straight to it. Very convenient. Then in the browser, you'll see across the top here, I've set up 3 tabs. Each tab is running Parish Online, but each tab is already set to the particular planning application that we're doing. So now you've got, and let's just say it's just 3, it's easy to remember which one, but you can have a note on your table saying, you know, the first one is the first tab, the second one is the second tab, and the third is the third. But you may well have a whole bunch of other stuff down here from later in the meeting. But the beauty of this is that you can jump from one tab to another just by hitting Control and the number. So if you want to go to the 3rd tab in a hurry, which of course you do want to do in a planning meeting, you don't want the computer to be holding people up. So it helps to have it already set up on the right page in the right place, and you just leap to it by jumping to Control 3 or Control 2, whichever it happens to be. So we've now moved on to the second item. So I've now moved to the second tab, and there it is. Everything is available to see. Now, the portal from South Somerset District Council was opened via Word from the hyperlink in the agenda. So you can just Alt-tab back to that, and you can toggle back and forth between this screen for the mapping data or the planning application, portal for the documents that you want to see. And basically, you're going to end up with a full picture that everyone can look at on Parish Online. And then, of course, there is absolutely nothing to stop you whilst you're in the Parish Online section on pulling in the other layers that you'll need. So the flooding information, the local SSSSI, or how many S's there are in there, conservation areas, tree planning, tree preservation orders, all that stuff. You bring it in so that the councillors can all see what the implications are of this particular application. So at the top, I've summarized again, this is for people who are sometimes not particularly familiar with the tricks that they can use with their computer to jump around. So I've taught them the Alt-tab and the control number stuff. And hopefully this will really speed things up for people and make them more efficient. And then the final beauty of this, I think, is that as the council makes their decision on this particular application, you just go ahead and record it. So you should click on the pencil and say that the date considered by the council is today's date, and the decision was we support it with no restrictions. And then you've done it. And because this is in public map, the results available at once on the public website. So, people know as soon as you made the decision what the decision was, which is what transparency and full openness is all about. So, bingo. So you can see, I hope, how the same principles apply to everything else on the agenda. So when we get to the footpath section, you just show the public rights of way map. We've actually gone further than that, and we've got every stile and bridge in our footpaths reported and numbered, and then a condition of the reports, because as the sort of summer rolls on, they all start getting covered in brambles, and the farmers have got to cut back stuff, but the farmers flatly refuse because they don't want people to be encouraged to wander over their land. So then you have to think, well, is the linksman going to do it? Whatever. But the more, again, footpaths is something that really lends itself to digital mapping. The village hall report, they had a meeting last night and decided where the marquee is going to go for the summer fete, and they make a report to the parish council. So now you can see exactly what they're planning to do. Ditto for the playground project. I've just stolen all this stuff straight off our last agenda, but it's all mapping. Even the finance, which is just a long, dreary list of spreadsheet outcomes. There's no reason why it can't be put up on the screen along with everything else from within Parish Online. So I just think I'm trying to get across to people the idea that they can get much more responsive reactions from councillors who can see what they're looking at. And certainly for any place larger than a hamlet or a village, there are going to be places that come under discussion that not everybody in the room is familiar with. So being able to show them where they are on the map, and then you can change to aerial photography and show them what it looks like from above. And they may well be reminded, well, that's where Mr. Smith lives now, but I know them as that's where the Joneses have been for the last 50 years. And you can update them and say, yes, the Joneses left 5 years ago. But that's all the sort of stuff that comes up in this meeting. So I'm just trying to show how you can use Parish Online to help get past fading memories. More hints. So we're going to go into this in a little bit more detail, these two items. As you're well aware, the district and county councils hold vast sums of data which they don't particularly feel that they should be sharing with anybody. And there's really an educational issue there, which I'm going to go into. And Parish Online is now veering towards being very useful for the climate emergency stuff. And I'm just giving you a quick glimpse of what's available nowadays in the system. So here in your list of collections of layers on the left-hand side, I'm showing you what's put out by the county council, the district council, and the heritage people in Somerset. So any one of these layers is coming specifically to Somerset users, and I'm hoping to get everybody to persuade their councils to be just as forthcoming. It seems to be quite rare. I've told the story many times about the Bath and North East Somerset unitary, who decided 10 years ago that this was absolutely the way to go. They bought, this is at the county level or the unitary level, they bought licenses for every single one of their parishes in Parish Online, gave them to them free and said, stop calling us. You've got everything you need to know right here in your own software on your own PCs. And we will make all of our data available to you. And the Baines Unitary exports 400 layers of their data to the local parishes. So it makes the sort of 15 or 16 that we get here look trivial. And the thing I have problems with is that they've done this for the last 10 years because it's a financial no-brainer. They save money by buying licenses for everybody because they don't need anything like the headcount at the head office to answer all the queries which are no longer coming. Anyway, so as an example, I click on the Somerset County Council, and we've got these various options here. And this is where you start really making the best use of Parish Online, because you can chuck all of this stuff, of course, into a public map. So parents are hugely interested in where they're going to send their children to school. So why not take the primary catchment areas, the middle school and the secondary catchment areas? Your clerk is probably going to be quite interested in the highway lighting, who's responsible for which lights and that sort of thing. Much quicker, huge savings of their time if you get this data as coming out from the county council and you don't have to lift a finger. It's all done for you. When the winter rolls around, people want to know which of the main roads are going to be gritted. Well, stick it on a public map. It's all updated automatically without you having to lift a finger. It's really a treat. Sorry, getting carried away here. Stones. So there are different ways of showing the same thing depending on where the data has come from. So this slide is really an attempt to show how, again, the county or the district can save you a huge amount of effort. So the top left corner is the aerial planning applications that we use in Long Sutton. And we use color and we use aerial photography, and people can click on any application to find out the more details about it. Perfectly good. In Stoddart-Stones, and I think I showed you this the other day, they've gone for the point application, which is a lot tidier, but doesn't show you the scale of the involvement of the local of the area immediately around it, but it makes for a very neat picture, I think. And then finally, what we're seeing here on the right may well make what's on the top left obsolete, because the local district council is now putting out all of their planning applications as a layer within Parish Online. In fact, you can see I've selected it here. This is the South Somerset District Council shared maps, and these are the planning applications. And this is a work in progress, because they've chucked out all the data and said, what do you think? And I've come back and said, well, it looks absolutely fantastic, but there are various limitations because it's a third-party layer. We can't add in when the council saw it, or anything like that. So we're wondering if we can work with you and with Geosphere to get that sort of information available in a third-party layer. At the same token, they put it out with one of their fields of data in this left column, the reference number, the 22/10621 or whatever it happens to be, which takes you to the portal. But I'm saying, so why don't you put the link in there? And then nobody has to create the link externally. You can just jump straight to it. Anyway, work in progress, but it's what happens when you start working with your local district or county councils. It ends up as being a massive time saver for your poor old overworked parish clerks.
I've noticed I've gone into our district council layer, and yeah, they're very good. They've been putting on where you've got conservation area, you've got TPO points and TPO areas, property ownership, current planning applications and determined planning applications. And
they're all being, you're in West Sussex, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've long been a bit like the Bath and North East Somerset unitary. They're really way in advance of most other counties.
Yeah.
Very impressive to see. I think, as far as I know, they use XMAP at their level, which is the big brother to Parish Online.
Yeah.
And that makes things a lot easier. But again, if they're exporting you, 20 layers or more, that's fantastic. But you can always go back and say, so what happened to the other 360? Because they've got information there that is really valuable and time-saving to people at the parish and town level, or in your case, city. I have to be very wary of what I call people. So this is our local heritage people are putting out the conservation areas. I just use them as the example, and in actual fact, so does the district council put out the conservation areas, and exactly as you say, the tree preservation orders. Again, having it there without you having to put it in is a major time saver. Yeah. So this is really my slide at hoping to persuade people to get their district and counties to talk to Parish Online. So first of all, if people haven't attended our earlier sessions, then they may not realize that Parish Online is a complete GIS on its own and is therefore able to exchange information with these bigger systems, because they will follow the same protocols. So one of the big fears at the parish and district, sorry, the county and district levels is that nobody has any time to do anything to meet these desires. And the beauty of this system is that it doesn't cost them anything in time or money or resources. Geosphere does the work, and because they're doing it all the time, they're very fast. And literally, it only takes a minute or three to let them get into the appropriate database to select the fields that they need and then get out again. And once the link's set up, it's there forever. And just like public maps, every time the district or county councils update the data in their systems, that data automatically moves into Parish Online.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. One of the things within Parish Online, which we've discussed a bit further on, is the energy performance certificates for houses. And they've said that they will update them once a year. And when I said, why on earth once a year? They said that's because that's the rate at which, not DEFRA, but the Housing and Communities Ministry, or whatever they are called nowadays, Communities and Local Housing, whatever it is. That's the speed at which they're updating. And you think, come on, government, this is the 21st century. You can certainly do better than one update every 365 days. That's daft, particularly when councils are making policy decisions based on the data that you're putting out. And if they're looking at what they think is 20% of their local housing is at grade C or below, or the other way around, mostly it's a grade C or above, that's no good if actually the true figure is 50%. So what I'm trying to get at is that the data moves in two directions, and the faster it travels, the more useful it is. And it involves very little work at the upper level in getting the data down to you. It's surprising. Sort of the fourth bullet down, you've probably become very, well, maybe you haven't run into this problem, but people bash their heads against the wall because they think what we need is information from IT or GIS, if they even know what a GIS is. And so that's the people that they call, and they get nowhere because you don't want to be talking to the people who hold the data. You want to be talking to the people who are responsible for the delivery of services to the customers. And it comes as quite a surprise to some parish councils to discover that they are a customer, but it's even much more of a surprise to the county or the district that the information that they've got is information that's useful at the parish level. And that sort of comes on to that penultimate bullet point that I think there's a huge gap in education, that the people who are working in IT or in the GIS departments just don't appreciate how valuable and time-saving the data that they're carrying is at a parish level. And once that word is got across, we've always found so far that they can't stop themselves, doing more than you actually want them to. They're really delighted to be of help. But that's not the impression that you've got from outside. You've been bashing your head against a brick wall for the last 4 years trying to get this data, and no one wants to help. But now councils are beginning to appreciate that that's their job. They're beginning to put in these customer services people at a high level, and they're the ones who can clout the IT department into doing what they're supposed to be doing from the start. And then what we've been talking about so far is all the data coming down from the higher tiers of government to us. But of course, it does work the other way. There's no reason at all why you can't correct the errors that they've got in their public's rights of way data. I mean, we've got one where a footpath goes through a lake, and it just goes down the outside of the lake. But you need to sort of, as you work with them more and they begin to trust you and you begin to trust them, then they say, well, yes, of course you can update our system with your greater local knowledge. And that makes everybody feel a whole lot better, because rights of way get straightened out, and the gates that were listed in their system disappear because the gate's long disappeared, or a style has become a gate, whatever it happens to be. The local information is the best information. So that was the idea of the two-way data move. But the important point was, who do you go to get this data shifting? And it's the customer service people, not the IT or GIS departments. And you can save them time and money by giving them geographical information. And again, I'm preaching to the converted here, Peter. I'm sorry about this, but
that's okay.
People need to be told that if you call the highway department and say, look, here's a photograph of a street sign that's been run into and it's all bent and bashed, but you can see it was a stop sign of this particular size and type, and here are the coordinates of where it is. The time that they save in sending out their little Manny with his van with the right sign in, and he knows exactly where he's going to, they're saving money as well. So it all becomes very handy if the data is moving in both directions. And again, I'm just trying to get the point across to people. They have a mapping system that will give the coordinates of any item in the map. And that's really useful to higher levels of government who are responsible for fixing things. And then I mentioned down here at the bottom that there's a new tool, it's only a couple of months old, that will automatically export into a PDF everything in your asset register. And that, of course, is exactly what your insurance companies are looking for, because they then know precisely what it is that they're insuring. And it only takes a minute to run this rally report. It's fantastic. So any parish council or clerk who's had to generate the report from their manual system for an insurance quote, which probably took them a day, and they're now doing it in 30 seconds. It's just tremendous. So the advantage of going digital. Okay, this page is really ideas that have come to me from talking to people, and it's usually for those who just haven't yet found their way around all the systems within Parish Online. But I've spent 35 years in IT, and I still think that Parish Online is arguably the sweetest little commercial package I've found. I have a lot of scorn for commercial packages generally. You know, why would you buy from Microsoft when you can use Linux or LibreOffice? But anyway, I do think that Parish Online is a very, very appealing package, with a lot of power in there that people generally don't recognize. It's a bit like Word, that sort of 90% of the people use 5% of its facilities. So when you're doing labeling of stuff in Parish Online, if items are very close together, the system gets a bit sort of confused and it doesn't quite know where to put labels, and it leaves things out because there isn't room for them. And sometimes the simplest way around is just create another layer and put all the labels in there as separate dots, and then you can select a label function, and you can then maneuver or manipulate the dots very precisely so that you're getting the information, the label exactly where you want it. So that's just a thought. Annotations are supposedly temporary. Some people tend to forget that, and the annotations are there for life, but they are fabulous when you're making a presentation and you want to highlight something briefly. You can just go into annotate, you can stick it up there, leave it there for the presentation, and then take it down later. It's very quick and very effective. You know, you can really highlight something by putting a sucking great circle around it or whatever it happens to be. I've run into people who have had concerns about their printing not working, and it turns out they've got a toggle mask turned on, which has changed all the highlighting or all the contrasts with surrounding boundaries. So that's just there to advise people. I'm sure you don't have this trouble, but some people have no idea that they can actually get the print box custom sized to exactly what they want. So there's a tip there. Then the perennial ones here of trying to get people who are using the system more to get more out of it. Geosphere started the forum in the idea that if there are lots of people online at any one time, then someone will be around to answer a question if you post a question. So far, nobody beyond the usual suspects has posted a question, but I'm hoping that will change. So that's there, and these two links are in place. So when you get the presentation, there's the link to the community forum. I've suggested to everyone I meet that they save that in their browser as a bookmark, because you don't need to be in Parish Online to get into the forum or the knowledge base. It's a completely separate system. You can browse directly to it, and therefore it's worth saving the bookmark in your browser. Ditto for the user groups banter sessions. And there are lots of people not available on Friday afternoons, but when they are, I think this is a wonderful idea. You know, you just got these guys who are using this all the time. They're very good at what they do. They're very knowledgeable about their parish duties. And people can just call in and say, how do I do this? Or what's that about? And they're going to give you examples. They're going to fix the problem right there and then. I thank God for Zoom. And I've yet to come across a problem that they haven't been able to give a pretty quick answer to. And people should not feel embarrassed about dropping in, having their question answered, and then dropping out again. But sometimes people feel a bit guilty that they're not joining in or helping out or whatever. But the whole idea of the thing is we're trying to get people to make more use of the system, and the more time that they can save, the better it is. So drop in, get your answer, and drop out again. And although it doesn't really look like it, this here is a hyperlink to the banter session, which actually is just the bottom of my group training sessions. The bottom item is the link to the banter sessions. So now we move on to what is available within Parish Online on different layers. These are quite new ones. The calculator has been there for over a year now, but people tend not to know it's there. But if you're at all involved in climate change, then you need to know what sort of base figures your particular area is generating in terms of CO2. So the calculator is there. You get to it by just clicking on any parish boundary. And when the left column changes into, you know, where do you want to go type question, you just click on the parish name and up will pop the calculator. And it's pretty good at explaining how it works itself. For those people who are involved in energy performance certificates, they're now available online. There is a collection of several layers, and you can select the layer which is most appropriate to you, but as well as seeing all the known energy certificates. And you're probably aware that every time now somebody moves, they have to have their house inspected and given an energy certificate. So they are gradually getting the country more and more covered. There is a target for getting every building in the country up to at least a grade C. And one of the layers in here will show you all the buildings which are most easily shifted to grade C. Ditto, there's also another layer which shows you the most points that you'll gain from upgrading a particular building. And therefore, again, if you're on a planning committee or you're setting council policy about how we're going to help people in our local city get up to these standards, then this system provides you with a very clear indication of where you should be concentrating your firepower. I haven't put them in the slides here, but because they're not really yet part of Parish Online, but there are some very clever documents which they're producing with a company called Energeo, which I'm very willing to pass on to anybody who is interested. But basically, they're using artificial intelligence and pictures and satellites and mapping, Parish Online, to come up with places where it's people cannot put charging points in their houses. They don't have a driveway, or they don't have anywhere that is not directly onto the street. And therefore, the system looks for a nearby car park or parking facility in which to put charging points instead. So the council can say, well, this particular car park will satisfy the demands of these 500 houses. So that's one which I think is very sensible. There's another one which says all of these roofs are facing south, so they're potentially good places to put solar panels. And so it goes on, all sorts of stuff which is just gleaned from overhead photographs or just the straight map itself by artificial intelligence, and basically helping people make more informed decisions. Where are we going to put the community heat pump, for instance. Whatever it happens to be, this is all coming, and I'm getting quite enthused about it. So I'm very happy to pass on the information if anybody's interested. I think that's the last slide. Yep, Peter. Happy to take questions, have discussions, or say goodbye, whichever is best suited to you. Let me come out of this and get to share there. You're still there?
Yeah, still here. Yeah, that's all quite mind-blowing, really. The potential for it, isn't it? I mean, I'm pretty much the only person in Air Council that uses Parish Online in terms of actually entering data and creating layers. Our member services guy, he's pretty savvy, and so he's used some of the information to create public maps,
right,
which has been useful. They're on embedded in our website. But yeah, I've just had a look. Chichester District Council put all the planning information on there. Climate and energy, I've looked under there. There seems to be quite a bit of information there. I think it's a work in progress looking at it with what they've put in. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it just it's got to be the go-to place. See if we, for any sort of function, see if there's anything that we can use it for. So yeah, it's quite exciting, really.
I think so. As I said, I think it's a very, very underemployed package at the moment, and I'm seeking to change that.
Yeah.
So if you feel that there's anything that we should be doing or mentioning in this presentation that we haven't done yet, by all means, blast me in with facts and figures, because all these training sessions are works in progress. I can sort of refine them as we go along.
Yeah. No, I've got my work cut out, really, putting things on all their civil regarding.
So sorry about that. Well, I hope this was helpful, Peter. It was lovely to talk to you.
It's really good.
And have a great weekend.
And you. Nice to see you, Graham.
Yeah, take care, Peter. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.